And the point today is we ain't going away till HB 746 becomes law. Okay?
Recently, the North Carolina Senate's first in-flight Republicans in name only took flight in face of the grassroots North Carolina rally for passage of 2017's H746, the Omnibus gun bill. Members of grassroots North Carolina from across the state gathered in Raleigh to make it clear that guns save lives and that unreasonable infringement of gun rights has to stop in North Carolina. H746 is the bill that allows lawful concealment of handguns for anyone that can legally carry a handgun today, in any place they are currently allowed to carry it. It's that simple, and common sense not to draw attention to yourself. Bill sponsors joined GRNC to urge the Senate to go on record and pass the bill now, with a veto-proof majority. Just what voters expected when they put the supermajority Senate into office.
The Second Amendment simply says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say except in this, that, or the other case that somebody wants to make up. People have the right to self-defense, therefore they have the right to keep and bear arms. And all these gun control laws that we have to live with are violations of the Second Amendment. And so I've been trying to work towards constitutional carry. Even if this bill, House Bill 746, were to pass, we wouldn't be there yet. It's not constitutional carry. I had those words taken out of the bill because they forced us to water it down so much that it's really not constitutional carry. But it's a step in that direction, and we need to continue to work towards that.
We know that the highest violent crime takes place in the poorest neighborhoods. What will this bill do for those people?
It will mean that they won't have to pay the government and get their permission to be able to defend themselves. That's the thing about it. Having to spend the money to get the concealed carry course is a burden on some people that don't have as much money as some of the rest of us. And then having to pay so much for a permit. This is simply saying that where you can carry openly, there's no reason for you to have a permit to carry concealed. That's what this is all about. Wanted to get a lot more done with it than this bill would do at this point, but that's the main thing, is to equalize concealed carry with open carry where open carry can occur.
We also know that crime goes down when people carry concealed, but this isn't going to change where they can carry or who can carry at all.
Not really. Most of the restrictions and exceptions to those restrictions will still be in place with this bill. The whole thing is that if you can open carry in an area, you'd be able to carry concealed without a permit, and which makes perfect sense to me. I mean, if you're walking down the street, say I got my coat off, and I don't have it on me right now, but usually got my little gun right here. I mean, that's open carry. Now, if all of a sudden it gets a little cool and I decide to put my coat back on and cover up that gun, all of a sudden I'm illegal. That makes absolutely no sense. But the basic point to me is our founding fathers said, shall not be infringed, and that's what they meant. And I think they would be literally up in arms today if they knew the kind of restrictions that are on the free carry of weapons. We shouldn't be having those restrictions.
13 other states have this constitutional carry law. What's it done there? Is it going to be any different here in North Carolina?
I don't think it would be any different in terms of like crime going up or anything. That hasn't happened in the other states. In fact, crime has gone down. The places where you have real problems are places like Chicago and Washington, D.C., places that have the tightest restrictions on weapons, because the criminal knows that the average citizen's not going to be armed, and so he can just prey on them. But if we have freer carry of our weapons, and anybody can carry concealed, they don't know whom to attack because they don't know who's armed and who isn't. And so crime goes down because they're less willing to take that risk.
It's like the 2200 courtyard.
I heard this bill also has a training component for an elective in high school. Is that correct?
Jay Adams inserted that into the bill, and we think it's a good idea. I know a lot of people are concerned about if you don't get a concealed carry permit, you don't get the training. Well, the thing about that is you can carry open now without it. So just concealing the weapon makes no difference about that. And the training, I mean, I went through it. I intend to continue to have concealed carry myself. And this bill doesn't do away with concealed carry, just makes it optional. the permit that is. And I will continue to have concealed carry permit because, you know, when I go visit my daughter in Virginia, we have a reciprocal agreement with them, but they're not going to let me carry without a permit up there. So I go visit my daughter, I don't have to leave my gun in North Carolina. Also, to be able to purchase a weapon without going to the sheriff is part of the concealed carry permit process. So I'm going to continue to do that. But for others who can't do that, I just think it's a right that we shouldn't be trampling on.
Well, I want to start by saying that the Second Amendment does not give us our rights. And I'm sick and tired of hearing people talking about that. Our rights come from God, and that's what all this is about. It's about giving us the rights that have been taken from us over decades, over the last century. What's in this bill is going to put people back in a position where they can protect themselves, protect their lives. The bill allows you to carry anywhere that you can carry right now open. You'd be able to carry concealed without a permit, which makes sense. I mean, we're bringing common sense into this. This is not space science. You know, everybody thinks we're changing the world here, but it's not. It's just saying if you're carrying open and your jacket falls over, you bend over and it falls over it, well, now you're violating the law. That doesn't make any sense. This is what it's correcting.
Would this bill make everybody safe?
It is. I think it's going to make people a lot more safer than they are now. What's the number one fear of criminals? They've done surveys. It's not the police. The police arrive after everything's done and they're on their way out of there. The number one fear of criminals is that their intended victim might be armed.
All right, folks, in case you missed it somehow, I'm Paul Valon. I direct Grassroots North Carolina. Since 1994, our state's most effective gun rights organization. And as you may be aware, we are here today to deliver a message to the leadership of the North Carolina Senate that we will not go away until they pass House Bill 746. House Bill 746, thank you, House Bill 746 will establish permitless concealed carry so that you don't need a governmental permission slip to protect yourselves and your families. House Bill 746 will leave the concealed handgun permit system intact so that you may still carry in certain sensitive areas. You may still bypass the need for a burdensome and sometimes unobtainable North Carolina pistol purchase permit, and you may still carry concealed in other states using our reciprocity provisions, and I believe we've captured, 37 states at this point. So the bottom line is that we are telling the North Carolina Senate leadership not to be rhinos, since we have our new friend, Squish the Magic Rhino. Squish here, where there he is. Come on up and say hi to everybody for us. Okay? Squish the Magic Rhino will be a prominent feature of GOP campaign events until such time as the General Assembly passes House Bill 746.
Go Squish!
Now, what we are telling the Senate to do is, it's very simple. We're telling them to do what we sent you here for. They seem to have forgotten who brung them to the dance, and so consequently, we want to make sure that Senator Phil Berger, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, and the leadership understand that we expect them to do the work gun voters sent them here to do. And so we want you to deliver that message today via these signs, via those party stickers, lovely little rhinos in red, white, and blue, and make sure that you stop, visit your senator and members of the North Carolina Senate today and deliver the message that Grassroots North Carolina, okay, and its 120,000 email recipients and alert recipients are not going away until they pass House Bill 746. And with that note, did I see Representative Speciale? Would you care to make some comments to the, we have one of our bill sponsors here, Representative Michael Speciale.
We worked hard to get this bill to the point that it's at right now. We worked hard to get it through the House caucus. We made a lot of changes. We started off with a very, very strong bill. Again, We made some changes. It's not exactly what we would like, but it's certainly a far cry from where we're at right now. And we're pushing to get it through the Senate. We're not done fighting yet. The House, the folks that support this in the House are going to continue to fight for it and fight for our rights, because our gun rights are not given to us by the Constitution, and you all need to remember that. It's not, the Second Amendment does not give us our rights. God give us our rights. And what we've had over decades, many decades, is an erosion of those rights by people that we sent to office to protect our liberties, and that's the prime mission of people that we send up here, that you send up here. That's my prime job, is to protect your liberties and your rights, and to do those things that government is supposed to do. And one of those things that government is supposed to do is not take away your Second Amendment right, your God-given right to be able to protect yourself and your families. Government has come up with all kind of excuses over the years about why this guy shouldn't have a gun, and this guy shouldn't be able to protect himself, and this guy, and this, that, and this, and the other thing. All that stuff needs to be corrected, and those rights need to be restored, and that's what we're here to do. That's what I intend to do. That's what I know Larry Pittman intends to do, who's up in caucus right now. And we're going to continue to fight. The fight's not over, and as long as I'm here, as long as he's here, as long as some of the other folks are here, we're going to continue to fight to turn these silly laws that have been passed over the years, to turn them back to where they need to be.
Why do those people hate our rights?
They don't hate them. It's just about control. Okay? So what does it boil down to? It boils down to look at who you're sending up here. The day of, oh, well, he's my buddy, so I'm going to go ahead and vote for him. That day's got to be gone. And it's got to be, where do you stand on this? What are you going to do about that? Where do you believe about this? And I don't care if they're your brother. If they're not going to protect your rights, they got no business up here. And it's that simple. And we've got to start looking at candidates in a much better way than we have in the past. I'll give you a good example. I went to a store through Walmart one day, and I had on this is before I got elected, when I was running, and I had on the badge there, and it had the Republican elephant, and it said candidate for North Carolina House, and it had my name. And as I'm going through the checkout, the gal says, she looks and she goes, oh, she goes, right party. And then she says, is that Italian? My last name. And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, you got my vote. Why would I have her vote? She has no idea where I stand. She has no idea what the issues are. None of this stuff. I mean,
the issues.
There isn't one of us up here that won't take the vote, but it didn't make any sense. Okay, and this is what we're doing. This is what voters are doing. They're doing things like that at the expense of our rights. At the expense, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in government that ought not to be going on, and until we look at these people and start determining who needs to be up here, and the fact that they have a certain party label is irrelevant. Who's going to protect my rights? Because that's the only people I'm going to support to come up here when I'm casting my vote.
Amen. Amen.
I want to thank you all for being here, for coming up here and taking the time to stand up and fight for what you believe in. But we need to fill the ranks. This place should be packed with people who are outraged, because if this was 50 years ago, some of those people would be outraged at what's going on. But we need to get, I'm happy to see that we are starting to get a movement. We are starting to get people involved. But the more people that show up at these types of events, the more people that stand up in your neighborhood. You can't sit there anymore. A lot of us are kind of quiet sometimes. You know, we're older, we're a little more reserved, you know, we lived our life, we don't want to make waves. This is the way it's been. And so when the problems are coming up, we don't want to start an argument. We let somebody argue we hear somebody say something like, the Second Amendment, we need to get rid of it. You hear that in the cafe, or you hear it here and there. Somebody needs to stand up and say, no, here's why we have a Second Amendment, or here's why we have the right to keep and bear arms, and it's not so we can protect ourselves from our neighbor, it's so we can protect ourselves from our government. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing we have to protect our rights, because once the guns are gone, everything else will disappear behind it. Thank you for being here. God bless you, and stand up and fight. In every case where you hear these people, back home, everywhere, you've got to stand up and defend it, because the last person that needs to be heard is you and I. Not that guy that doesn't want us to have our rights. God bless everybody here. Thank you for coming.
Bravo.
Thank you.
All right, folks. I'd like to say thank you for joining us today. I realize it's a hot day during the week When people are working, it's always easier to assemble, for the lefties to assemble, of course, because they don't work. Our people, on the other hand, have normal work days. So we appreciate you being here in the heat. Right now, make sure that you get those signs out, make sure people know what we're here for, and then make sure that you stop by with Jeff, get a map, and hit some legislators today before you leave, and tell them to pass House Bill 746. Thank you.